Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be Instacart Part 2. And last time I talked about the whole thing with they're taking a tip deduction out of your Instacart offer. And Bobby, who's also a delivery driver, he said they're not taking $1 for a refund on the grocery items. They're taking a percentage out of the tip. So I guess everybody feels like that's okay, and that's fine, but a lot of things have been dismissed. And I'm here to give you guys a little bit more detail. Things that were dismissed and things that were not considered. Okay, here it goes. So we know that Instacart has a claim that for every offer that a customer places and they leave a tip as a percentage only, this only applies to the percent tip that the customer leaves for the items. And when there's a refund, that means the amount that the customer paid for the merchandise is less, the amount is less, so now the percentage is going to be less because the amount that they're paying for the groceries is less, right? So far so good? So you're getting less of a tip for a refund. So everybody, I don't know how the drivers understood that. I think they only took it as face value, the cover of the book, and pretty much not read the book at all, or read the fine print and the common sense and logic behind this. Okay? Now, so it's Instacart's policy for them to do that. That policy is voided. It's a void policy. It's not a legal policy. Oh, this is coming from Dino. What did Dino know, right? What did Dino know? You cannot have a policy for another company. You cannot pass a policy that doesn't belong or has nothing to do with your company. Bobby is scratching his head and he's trying to figure out what the hell is going on. When you buy, let's say, in a different world, let's say in a different dimension, where Instacart is a grocery store as well. Instacart is not a delivery service. They also own grocery stores. And the delivery service that they have employee drivers, Instacart W-2 drivers. Guess what? That policy, there's no argument from me, and there's no argument from the system, and there's no argument from everybody. That's fine. There's no video. But these are, and we'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of a market that a lot of people are familiar with. Let's say Sprouts Farmers Market. Okay? The customer placed an order with Sprouts Farmers Market. What type of groceries are they buying? The customer is buying Sprouts Farmers Market products, not Instacart products. Who is missing the item? Because that's how refunds happen. They are missing an item. Who is missing the item? Instacart? No, Sprouts is. Who also is miscategorizing items as available, and then when you go to the Sprouts market or any other market, they tell you, oh, this item has been discontinued 6 months ago, and they never took it down from the website. Who is responsible? Obviously, Sprouts is responsible. It's not Instacart. Instacart is not involved into any of that. They're not in charge of any of that. Okay? So far, so good. So all this falls on to Sprouts. They sell in the product, not Instacart. They're missing the item, not Instacart. They're misclassifying that they have this item, but it's been discontinued. That's also Sprouts, not Instacart. And the customer is paying the groceries, the money, to who? For the grocery, not the delivery service money that they're paying for the delivery service. The money that they're paying for the groceries, it's going to where? It's going to Sprouts. They're paying Sprouts. Okay? So Sprouts should be the one that has the policy, not Instacart. Because Instacart, you're making a policy that involves another entity, another company, with what's going on with the order. Now you might say, well, they're using Instacart to order through Sprouts. No, the customers are going to the Sprouts website. How do you think they're finding items that have been discontinued? They're going to the Sprouts website, or they're going to any other supermarket's website, and they're shopping from there. Then they're using the Instacart for the delivery service. So the items that are missing, if that's the deal, Bobby, talking to you, Bobby, and everybody else, but mainly to Bobby. If there's a missing item on error on Sprouts, they have to cough up that $1. Let's say the customer ordered $100 worth of groceries, and they put in, let's say, a 10% of a tip. That's $1 per item. They ordered 10 items, it was $100, 10% tip, that's $1 per item. So they're missing one item, so that's $1 for the driver that needs to go back to him. Instacart should not pay for that dollar. Sprouts, on that order, when it shows there's a missing item, automatically gets paid to Instacart, because Instacart, in the contract, you are promising Instacart when you accept an order, all the gig economies are telling you this, the reason they're hitting you with the completion rate and they might deactivate you, what is that? All the content creators have been talking about this. They're saying the following: when you are accepting an order, you are promising to complete that order as an independent contractor. And you must complete it. That's why they're very strict with that. And they are correct. The gig economy companies are correct. You know why? Because you have a choice when you're looking at the order. You can either accept it or reject it. That's why they're hitting people hard with the cancellation that goes on with these offers. Because you're promising them that you're going to accept the offer and do that offer, part of the contract. Okay? But it doesn't end there. They're not telling you the full explanation, the full details. Plus, you need to get paid, because before you accept the offer, they show you what the payout is going to be. So when you see in a payout that it says $10, and you are obligated, if you accept it, to do that task, to complete the offer, okay, you should get that $10. That's part of the being an independent contractor. In this country, I don't know what's going on in other countries, but in this country, that's how it stands. You have to do your part of completing the order, and they have to do their part of giving you what they promise you, $10. Okay? So if that's the case, a missing item is not Instacart's fault. So they have to get that dollar for that one missing item from Sprouts. It goes to Instacart, and then it goes to the driver for that missing item. But guess what? They're not doing that. What Sprout is doing is they're not disclosing that information to Sprouts, and they're not disclosing that information to the customer. So both parties are in the dark about this. There's no disclosure. And in the business law, you have to put that in consideration, and it has to be disclosed. They do that with all the businesses in the United States. When you sign in a partnership or you sign a contract with other companies, you have to disclose everything, or you'll be liable for lawsuits. Now, with DoorDash and Uber Eats, they also do shop and deliver. There you go. Do customers have the option of tipping with a percentage with DoorDash and Uber Eats? Leave it in the comments. And if they do, why is it they don't deduct anything from your tip when there's a missing item or a refund on that item? Explain to me why that doesn't happen with Uber Eats and DoorDash when they do supermarket shop and deliver offers. Why is that? Walmart Spark, when you're missing an item or you refund an item, okay? They have the option to tip with a percentage, Walmart customers. Why don't they deduct $1 or $2 out of your tip when you're missing an item or another item is refunded? Only Instacart is doing this. You see what's going on? Instacart has created a paradox. They're passing a policy with the tips regarding actions of a different entity and company. The policies you are passing is for your own company. It's the delivery service part. Did the driver did anything bad on a delivery service, and you have some kind of policy that you're not going to give him the whole tip, you're going to give him half the tip or this, whatever, it's on the driver. It's the driver's fault. The driver did something bad. He was late on a delivery. He was rude with the customer on a delivery service. I can say, okay. We know they don't have that kind of policy that they're going to deduct tips when something like that happens. They either deactivate you or give you a warning. But let's say they did have that policy. Will they remove $1 or $2 out of your tip if something that you did wrong as a delivery driver on a delivery service? On that part, I can understand it. But are you removing money out of the tip because of a different company's actions? How does that hold water? How does that make any sense? And since you're not an employee either, you're an independent contractor, it's even worse. You're not even an employee of Instacart. And even if you were, it's still, they cannot pass a policy of somebody else's company. You're telling me Walmart's policies also affect Target's policies as well? Or Target's policies also affect Walmart too? No, it doesn't. We don't live in that type of bizarre world. Each company has their own policies for their own companies, not for somebody else. That policy cannot stand. That policy does not hold water at all. And it's not the Instacart's fault, and it's not the driver's fault either. If Sprouts ran out of items, they don't know how to stock their stores, they're miscategorizing items that they have available but they have been discontinued. What does that have to do with anybody with the driver and Instacart? Has nothing to do with them, zero whatsoever. That's on Sprouts. That's on the supermarket. That's on them. They have to cough up if a customer's tipping. But Sprouts can turn around and say, if Instacart mentions that to Sprouts, Sprouts has the right to say, well, we don't like that. We're not going to have you as a delivery service, and we're going to look out for another company to do our delivery service. And that's why Instacart does not disclose that information. And they don't disclose it to the customers either. So instead, they're putting the whammy and the burden on the driver. For another company mishaps, which doesn't even involve Instacart. It involves another company. In this case, we're talking about Sprouts, as an example. How is Sprouts, customers dealing with Sprouts, affecting my tip? Where the delivery service part that I did was excellent, and there was nothing wrong on my part. Why should my tip get deducted? And not only that, the customer doesn't even know that that is going on. And the merchant doesn't know that that's going on, unless drivers tell them. But you're not telling the CEO, you might be telling the manager or a worker at a supermarket. They probably forget about that conversation within 5 minutes because they're busy at the supermarket doing their job. And it doesn't get mentioned to the head honchos and the CEOs. That's wrong on every level. And every delivery driver has the right to challenge that. Right or wrong? Let me know in the comments. It's an Instacart policy that affects Sprouts or other supermarkets or other merchants that they carry and have. It affects other businesses and not theirs. The money gets paid for the property of the merchandise, but because they feel like they'll lose their merchants for mentioning, disclosing that information, and they may not like the idea that telling the supermarkets that they have to cough up $1 or $2 when they're having missing items and stuff like that. So guess what? If that's the case, there's an alternative to that as well. And this applies to all of them. It applies to DoorDash, Uber Eats, Walmart Spark, and everybody else. You cannot have a percentage-based tip on all the gig economy apps, period. You cannot do that. That applies to customers that are paying money to a different company, not you. You do not provide the product. You don't make the product. You don't even sell the product. A different company is doing that. You're collecting the delivery service. That's all you need to carry about is the delivery service part. Did that went well? That's fine. There's no issues. The merchants need to be aware and disclose that information, and they are responsible for everything else. Period. Right or wrong, tell me in the comments. Let me know. Maybe there's some other things that I didn't consider. Or maybe there's some negative or even more positive stuff out of this. Because this thing is a paradox, what they're doing. And Instacart is doing that. And all the gig economy companies should remove the percentage-based tip because, well, they don't have to because DoorDash, like I said, they don't remove any driver's tips if there's a missing or refunded item. They don't do that. And Uber Eats, same thing. They don't remove anything out of your tip if there's a missing item or a refund. The same thing with Spark. Only Instacart is doing this. So Instacart, if that's the case, Instacart, and the only way you can get out of this is remove the percentage out of the tip. And customers can only tip based on set numbers that they have, like DoorDash also has that, like they'll put, like, say, a minimum of $5 or $2 or $6, $8 or $10. They can click on that. Or a customer can manually put in their tip, but they cannot click on a percentage, where it's affecting the price of the product because Instacart, you're not selling the product. You do not make the product. It's another company that's doing that. That's out of your hands. And I don't think it's legal for them to put a percentage-based tip in the app when it's going to affect the amount of tips if there's missing items or refunded items. They should not have a policy like that. It does not affect them. You have a partnership, but you're not affiliated with them. It's not Instacart has merged with Sprouts Supermarket. That's not what that is. It's a separate delivery service company. They have a delivery service partnership to do the Sprouts customers. That's what they call it. They are Sprouts customers. And you are helping Sprouts supermarkets. You're helping their customers to deliver their product. You're not a Instacart Sprout company. You're just Instacart. The same thing with DoorDash. It's just DoorDash. And Uber Eats is just Uber Eats or Uber. It just doesn't make any sense, guys. And ask anybody that's in a business-related field, they'll tell you. You cannot have a policy of doing shenanigans like this regarding other companies. What does that have to do? You're not that company. You are your own company, policies that affect your part, your delivery service part. That's all you need to have policies about your company. And if that's the case, what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing. So not only are you doing one wrong, you're adding even more wrongs, but not disclosing the information to the merchants and also to the customers. There you go. That information needs to be disclosed. It's legal information. If you're leaving it out, it's illegal. It has to be disclosed. Part of a deal, part of contracts and partnerships. Everything needs to be disclosed. Period. You living shit out, like I said before, you're going to get hit with a lawsuit. Period. That's how it is. But they're so sensitive, all these companies, we're afraid, if we tell every merchant, disclose all this information, we might lose them and lose money. Well, there you go. If that's the case, take out the percentage. And then you don't have to tell anybody anything. That will solve this whole thing. Only have regular tips with set prices, like little boxes, like I said, 2, 5, 10, 8, 12, 15, or whatever, or another box where they can put it manually, the customer, and then that's it. It's off your back now. There's no issues. Every time there's a missing item, a discontinued item, and they have it in their website, or when you do a substitution, and then the customer says, I don't like the substitution. I want a refund. You're still going to get deducted out of your tip. Why? What does that have to do with driver, and what does that have to do with Instacart? Zero. Has nothing to do with both parties, has nothing to do with it. They're not in charge of that. Like I said, if Instacart own the groceries, own the product, then you have a case. But Instacart, you do not have a case. You don't. It's ridiculous. You go to the store, you're going to pick up 10 items, 2 of them are missing. You're looking at $2, $3 out of the total payout. Why? What does that have to do with the driver? The driver did his part. He wasted his gas to get there. He did the shopping. He saw everything. He took pictures. Missing. Items have been discontinued. He asked the managers, we don't carry that product for 6 months. That's on them, not the driver, and not on Instacart either. That's on the supermarket. It's crazy. It's crazy what's going on with this shit. It's just crazy. Every time you do a shopping order, your tips get deducted. But the same thing happens with DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Walmart Spark. You get paid fine. when it's missing or not missing or whatever, discontinue or not. But only with Instacart, your tip is going to be deducted only when customers are placing orders with a percentage-based tip. So remove the percentage. Remove it. That's wrong on every level. That's the easiest way out, Instacart. Remove the percentage-based tips. That will solve everything. If you don't, you have to disclose that information to both parties, merchants and customers. Period. You have to let them know that that's what's going on. And the merchants have to pay for the difference. If that's the case. You want to have percentage-based tips? That's the only way out. The merchants have to pay for the difference. Because the mistakes are on the merchant, not the delivery driver and not Instacart. But Instacart, you do not have the right to do what you're doing because of another company. It's not you who's doing that. Who's carrying the products, who's making the products, who are selling the products. You're just delivering the merchandise. That's it. Another company is responsible of that. Period. You let me know in the comments. But I'm up to here with this shit. I don't care how you look at it, which way, what side, it's wrong. It's wrong. If you don't think it's wrong, let me know in the comments. If you think it's wrong, you can still leave a comment. And with that, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.